Hi everyone, I hope everyone is having an amazing day. Today we will be going over our trade breakdowns for all of the trades that we did take this week. If you are new here, we do have a Discord group called Financial Freedom. It's absolutely free to join, and basically all we do is we drop analysis, fundamentals, and basically just help each other grow as traders. If you do want to join, the link will be down in the description below. But back to the charts. So our first setup that we did take this week was on US30. We had a Zoom call on Sunday where we basically went over all of price action. We went over plays to form this week, and we were basically just going over things. So on Sunday, we did see this structure forming here. So we had our liquidity zones marked up. We saw that price was playing in and throughout this structure before, and all of this was previous result of NFPs happening the first week of this month, and then there was very heavy news last week that also rocked up the markets, as well as FOMC news that had happened this week. So we had seen this previous price action, and as we can see, these blue dots are just my pivot points, which is basically points in the market that help me identify where market structure is going and just better see how market structure is moving. So we saw us trading in and throughout this range, tapping this zone multiple times. And then we saw at the beginning of this week, this accumulation form, which didn't take out the higher liquidity that was already formed. So this previous accumulation actually came, and as we can see, this wick took out our order block completely for more than 50%. So this was a huge point of interest for me going into this week. As called on our Zoom, I had put a limit order at 50% of this accumulation zone because I knew just from price action that we are showing signs of weakness and we're not wanting to retrace back to our original liquidity given what we've already done in price action. So as we can see here, price action came perfectly, tapping us into our entry here and then instantly shooting down for a 1-4 trade, 1-4.8 trade, which was a pretty good start to the week. The next trade that we have, I believe, was on AU. Yes. So the next trade that we had was on AU. So this AU trade, we had saw that this range was happening on AU. And beginning of this week, as talked about on our Zoom call, I wasn't going to trade AU this week. Market structure has been really ugly lately. This is a higher time frame, and as we can see, we had been consolidating after these two huge pushes down into accumulation, into a huge push up. We were consolidating in and throughout this range, but we did actually see a push down out of this range to start the week, which gave me a little bit more comfortability to just trading this. So as we see, we came down and we tapped our liquidity zone and then came back up, just filling previous imbalance and price action. Once I saw this move happen, I was already looking for entries to the downside because I saw this weak notive that was already happening in the market. So I was looking for my sell. As we can see, price moved down and pushed down throughout here. I had this 50% imbalance level. I hope that you guys will be able to see this, but basically I had marked up 50% of this imbalance level of this candle for my original entry, but since I was monitoring the charts, I had just executed from the trade template. So we got our original entry right here at this wick level, and as we can see, price shot down, price shot back up, and then we had this huge bearish move down, which is where I moved my stops to break even, and then we had this break down even more, taking out price action throughout this accumulation zone. So I ended up moving my stops to trail. And as you can see, price just came right back up, taking us out of this position, which was for a 1 to 1.35, which was, I mean, I was fine with that. Again, we were predicting price to come down, and that's exactly what happened after these FOMC statements. But for a 1-to-1 on a trade that I wasn't even originally looking at taking was pretty good for this week. Moving on, we had a GBP odd trade. So this trade was quite a trade. So basically what we had saw was this huge bank candle here. So this was towards the end of the week after FOMC statements. This bank candle here had formed, and we had moved from our bottom liquidity range to our top liquidity range. So with that forming, I did see that we had huge rejection levels. If I delete this real quick, we had huge rejection levels off of this liquidity zone. Price action had previously respected this zone, and after we had traded below here, we traded right back into it, and again, rejected it. So I labeled my first pivot point here, showing the clear rejection of that zone, just seeing, okay, are we going to reject it, or are we going to continue going higher? So we saw price action move, and this 30-minute candle here was my main confluence that we were going to the downside, and this is where I had started to look for sells. So we had this 30-minute candle completely come up here, take out liquidity, and close below here. This is showing huge signs of bearish rejection, and so this is where I had started to move and look for my entry. So I saw price pushing up through here, and so I got in on kind of an early entry right here at 1.83710. I got in right here on this candle as we were pushing up, and all I did was put my stops above this previous wick level, because again, if we do break this wick level, I expect us to start trading up and throughout this range. But stops there, and I had my TPs at this equal low zone. As we can see, price action moved against us a little bit, trailing us down into drawdown, but then as we can see, we instantly came down here as more odd news came out. So we had unemployment rates for odd come out, and they came out very strong. So we had this huge push down, and once I saw this push down, we had started to break levels over here. So I took 90% of my position off the table here and moved my trail stops to 50% of the position. And as we can see, we made that huge move down and then pulled right back and just took us out, which I was completely fine with. We ended with 2.7% profit on a original 2.8, 1 to 2.8 trade. So, I mean, I was really satisfied with that. I was expecting a little more bearish push, but again, that odd news completely flipped everything around. And as we can see, glad we got out of that because we started this bullish path. The next trade that we took was EURJPY. So this trade, me and the group were really going back and forth on this trade. I had called this trade out originally over here. So we had seen price action moving in and throughout this zone. We had showed signs of weakness here, and then we showed another sign of weakness here where we completely wicked out, taking all of this liquidity, this previous liquidity here and this previous liquidity here out before actually pushing down. So this was a huge confirmation that we were in a bearish trend. So I was waiting for our imbalance, our previous imbalance level to be filled. As we can see, we came up here, which is where I got into my entry. I put stops right here just at top liquidity, and we instantly got stopped out. So that was a pretty bad trade. I mean, we impulsively got in here. I know exactly what I did wrong. Again, I should have just waited, because again, we do see if price makes this huge, so price made this huge low down here, showing that we were giving this rejection back up to the top. So I basically should have just waited until we collected liquidity in and throughout here and waited for the original retrace, which is exactly what happened to get us into our next trade, which is we moved. Price action moved. We had this accumulation zone in and throughout here. And as soon as we started ranging in this accumulation zone, I set two alerts. I set a buy alert here and a sell alert here. They were just normal alerts, no limits, anything like that, just normal alerts. So if we broke this level, I was expecting us to continue our bullish push up. And if we broke our level down here, I was expecting our bearish push down. So as soon as we got this alert, I looked at the charts and I saw this huge candle down that had started to retrace back up. Once we got this retracement, I got in on this second candle right here, that second 30-minute candle, and put my stops just 50% of this imbalance zone, because again, since we had broke out of this accumulation, I was not expecting for us to trade completely back into this accumulation unless we were going to start ranging again. So I put stops right above there. We went into a little bit of drawdown. And then my original take profits were at these equal low levels, which eventually were smashed, which was 1 to 8.9 originally. But I did take profits at 1 to 6.88 because I did see that market structure once we had came down here. So we had this huge push down and we had a lot of rejection here. And so I had scaled down to my 15-minute, and in the 15-minute, we were showing, again, these signs of rejection. So I just took all profits off the table here. But as we can see, with further news that happened in the week, we pushed completely down, taking out our original low zone and even coming down into farther zones of liquidity. Our next trade was USDJPY. So this USDJPY trade was actually yesterday. So these trades are kind of all over. I'm not going in order from where we took them in the week. Again, they are all posted. We have befores and afters. We have active trades all in and throughout the group if you do want to join. But I'm kind of just going over all of the trades at once right now. So this USDJPY trade was actually the beginning of this morning. So I saw that we had a huge push up after all of the news. Again, FOMC statements and all of that had kicked in. We had this huge push up and we saw that we were rejecting this level. So as soon as I saw this rejection level, I drew my new liquidity zones, which was in and throughout here. And then I have my liquidity zone down through here where price action has came down through multiple times. And I saw that price had started to range. So once I saw price ranging, I was like, okay, if we do have a huge spike up, again, the market moves in waves, up, down, as we all know. So I know if we have a huge bullish push up, we eventually are going to have a bearish push, at least filling 50 to 75% of that move before we do actually continue price action to the upside. So knowing that, we took this trade here, which was kind of impulsive, a little bit riskier than what I like to take. But again, I did see this downwards push happening. I saw this upwards push happening again, coming throughout here. And this is where I took my entry on the upwards push, just targeting stops at this higher liquidity level and then targeting my TPs at, again, these equal low levels. And as we can see, I went into drawdown because, again, I did get this entry just out of the middle of candles, but we did get this drawdown level before actually pushing into profit. And with this trade, I had taken it early this morning, but I fell asleep. So what had happened is when I woke up, I was already in profit here and I wasn't by my computer. So I just ended up taking all profits off the table right here. But as you can see, we did actually trade back into a range of liquidity. And I do think that going either end of this week, tomorrow, or starting next week, we might have this actual initial push down to our equal low level. But yeah, this trade was really good. A couple people in our chat as well took this trade. Let's see if I can find this one. Yes, so this was the entry. So this was my H1 entry at the very top here, and as we can see, we had pulled down, and this is where I had taken all of my profits off of the table. So moving on to our last two trades. So we took this Euro USD trade. This trade was absolutely beautiful. It was a bit of a risky trade because, again, we were trading FOMC news, but as we can see, I had sent the full-on analysis breakdown to my group. If I can get it here. All right, so this was the full-on analysis. So as we can see, we were creating a clear downward structure on our lower time frame as well. So we were already showing downwards movement on EU as a whole. At the beginning of this week on our Zoom call, I had actually said that EU was coming down to 1.20. As you can see, this was my main flagged area. And I had also said that GU was going to come down to 1.40 as well. So with these two trades, I called these during the week. Don't mind this. I was taking I was looking at 2-hour lows. I didn't call this to my group, but I did take a 0.5% loss here. Nothing too big. Just trying to trade against the trend. But again, we did call both of these coming down to those levels. So if we look at EU, we had this whole downward structure, and we understood that sometimes you have to understand, even though technical news does play a lot of factors into things, sometimes you just have to think of things in a way that just make clear sense. So if we go to the DXY, we have seen that the DXY has been bearish forever, since Last March, we have been in this huge bearish downtrend, and this is a currency. So knowing that we were in this huge bearish downtrend and understanding that the world is opening back up, better news is coming out and things like that, I had predicted that the dollar would start to fly this week. We were trying to get to this 92 zone as marked up, because this is our main sign of reversal, showing us that we will be in a clear bullish trend. But knowing that, I did know that we were most likely, with this FOMC news coming out, we most likely wanted to be bullish on the dollar, because again, the dollar most likely is not going to drop all the way down throughout here, because it's a currency. Therefore, the value of the currency has to hold. And again, the market moves in waves, as said. And so we understood that we needed a retracement, we needed tapering, we needed some sort of news that was at least decently positive for the dollar, in order for it to first come and fill all of this imbalance. And for second, exactly what we were predicting was this trend to change to being bullish. So with that being said, FOMCs had come out. I go back to my 1 hour time frame. So we were holding this huge level here. So we were showing signs of weakness already with this order block, pushing down to our liquidity, coming back, trading 50% of this order block, as we can see, before making this lower push down. So with this lower push down, I had seen in between what price action was doing. We had came down, we had traded back up, we had came down again, but with this price action coming down, we had formed a false order block. So this could be classified as a bullish order block here. But again, we look to trade with trends. That's exactly why I lost my GU trade, trying to trade against the trend. We are trading with the trend. So I was looking at this OB. Some people are looking to take this for buys. I'm not looking to take this for buys, because again, trend trading. We see that we push up, and as we push up, we fill this level here. All this level here was a previous downwards order block here. So as soon as we filled that, we traded against it. I put my POI zone of 50% of now this bearish order block, which is exactly what happened. Wick came in, tapped our zone, putting us into the trade here. And this was right before news. We were looking to target just our bottom liquidity zone, because again, I didn't know how far it was going to drop. Original bias was 1.20, but I'm not holding that long for news. So we ended up taking this at a 1.655, which was perfect for me. That's a great trade during news. And again, that was just all good for me. And then moving on to the final trade for this week. The final trade was just a 5-minute gold setup. So gold had been extremely choppy. Again, with the dollar expecting to fly, we had expected gold to drop, and I missed my my shallow entry here. So again, we had a creek form here, and it's literally just a simple break and retest of our creek before lower. I missed that entry this morning, but nonetheless, going to the entry that we did take. So price action was looking extremely ugly and throughout this zone. So we had moved down, we had traded below this liquidity level, we came back, we had traded again below this liquidity level before coming back. So when we came back, I had already had my pivot point set, because this is where I had thought our original bearish move would start. Nonetheless, it doesn't happen. We trade back into our zone, completely taking it out, which formed this high here. So I marked this high here, and I also marked this bottom level liquidity, because again, as we saw in price action, we pushed here, we then again pushed here, taking out lower liquidity, and then we made a huge bearish push here, and all of this bearish push here did was take out previous liquidity here, take out previous liquidity here from our order block, and also was picking up all of the orders in and throughout these bottom levels before pushing back up. And again, we were respecting this liquidity level. So with that being seen, I saw we traded back up. We traded right back into our liquidity level, which is where I got my entry at. And originally, we were targeting these highs here, but with how gold was moving, our TP1 was here. So as soon as our TP got hit, we just finished the entire position and closed it out at a 1 to 3. Not trying to risk anything. And again, that was perfect, because as we can see, we wicked again, and then price action instantly went against us and would have stopped us out or stopped us at break even if we would have stayed in the trade. So that is our analysis for this entire week. Those were all the trades that we took. I hope that you guys learned a lot of valuable information in this. And again, if you do want to join our group, the link will be down in the description. It is completely free of charge, and we're basically just here to learn and grow. Thank you for your time, and have a nice day.